Hello, people of the internet. This is Eugene Driscoll of valleyindy.org. Hi, how are ya? I just wanted to give a quick setup to this very special episode of Valley Sports Rewind. That's our weekly podcast hosted by Mike Cannici, produced by valleyindy.org. So, this episode was recorded during The Great Give. That was a 36-hour online fundraiser that benefited hundreds of nonprofits, including the Valley Indy. So this was first broadcast on Facebook Live in video form. So the sound quality is not quite what you're used to, especially for the WNHH 103.5 New Haven radio listeners. So I'll apologize in advance. Not horrible, but just keep in mind this was meant for Facebook and I extracted the audio somehow. So anyway, I'm going to shut up now. That's the setup. So we have a very special edition of it's a podcast / live thing / it's 11 p.m. I've been here since 6 a.m. whatever. But we have Derby track coach Nick DiLuggo making. Thank you so much for coming. You were supposed to be here at 8. I'll let Mike get into all that, but thank you for making an effort. 11 p.m. We're here. We're live. Ethan, can people hear us at this point? Yes, we're definitely live.
All right, awesome.
So with that, I will shut up. I will turn it over to Mike and Jen, and let's do another Valley Sports Rewind.
Thank you, Eugene, and we are excited. He's here. He's finally here. The wait is over. I've been trying to get him on for 6 months. Cross-country coach, track coach, the coach of the state champion cross-country girls team, Mr. Nick DiLuggo. And, Coach, it's an honor to have you on. Thank you for coming on.
Hey, thanks, Mike. I appreciate it. Even though it's a little bit late, I still appreciate it.
And, Jen, as always, I'm glad you're here. You're dedicated. You're everywhere in Derby, I tell you, and even though we're in Ansonia. But, Coach, let's get right into it. I know you had a meet today with the boys and girls up at Crosby. And how did that go today? Explain to everybody.
Went pretty well. The boys beat Seymour. I want to say it was 89-60, and they also beat Crosby 93-53. I think it was something like that. And the girls also beat Seymour. First time we've ever beaten Seymour, 76-68, and then Crosby 99-33. So it's a good day for us. Boys are 10-0 now.
Wow.
Girls are 9-1, so off to a pretty good start this year. So we're excited about that.
Nice. Now, Coach, if I'm not mistaken, you took over this program in 2007, 2008, somewhere around there?
Yeah, somewhere around there. 2007, 2000. I think it was actually 2008, 2009 was my first year.
So almost 10 years there. Talk about the journey to, getting there, and the program was kind of making its way back, and now 2016 comes and the girls win, the Class S title in cross country. Right now in track, the boys are undefeated. The girls have one loss. So, I think overall you're 20-1 with both clubs. Talk about what the journey has been like.
It's been pretty interesting and somewhat unexpected, but kind of. Well, I was hoping it was going to be expected, from the start. I got pretty lucky the first year. I took over the indoor program in 2000. It was 2008, 2009. And we had like 13 kids come out. It was a nice group of kids.
Right.
They worked hard, but we were in the SEC. Got beat up pretty bad that first year. They asked me, Joe Orzetti asked me to come back and coach the outdoor team. And we had a pretty good group of kids that came out, including a kid named Enes Bukalo, who was a junior at the time, just this monstrous kid, about 6'3", 240, 250 pounds. And Enes really helped get things started for us on the track side of the house because, we've had success in cross country, but we've also had it actually a little bit longer with the track program. And Enes showed a lot of potential as a junior, and there was a lot of excitement with that group, that his class. There was a lot of excitement with that group where we were seeing success on the individual level, and Enes ended up going to New England's, and he came back his senior year the next year and became a double state open champion.
Oh, wow.
In the spring of his senior year, he won discus and shot. Went to New England's. He was all New England in discus and shot. Then went to nationals and made finals at the New Balance National Championships in shot put. He came in 8th. And that was kind of the springboard for the boys track program. Ennis's success bred more success. I mean, I'm usually really good with the stats, but I want to say we've won the league in the shot put 6 out of the last 8 or 9 years.
Wow.
There was a sophomore on the team when Ennis was a senior named Jake Tomzak, who kind of lifted the mantle after he left, and he ended up being a state champion in the shot put as well. And we kind of grew our strengths in the field. Even though I'm like a distance coach, I'm a distance runner, I'm like,
right.
I noticed our strengths immediately. And while that was all going on, I was kind of in conversations with Mike Gazzo, who had started the running club around the same time I had started the indoor track, or took over the indoor track team. And, you know, that was one of my hopes, was that we bring up distance runners to kind of supplement what we needed. So our boys' strength for years has been in the field.
Right.
So, but you know, we've kind of built from there. We were trying to think. We won the NBL. I want to say, I don't want to misquote, but outdoor 2 years ago. We won the indoor championship the last 2 years.
Right.
So there's just been a lot of success, and kids just building upon one another. So it's been really fun.
Right, and you know, we talked with the Hyder family tonight about Coach Gazzo and what he's meant to the program. Talk about just, you know, him starting that running club years ago and how much of an impact it's had on the success of the high school team as well.
Oh, it's been huge. I mean, I remember that first year, he kind of helped when he could. I want to kind of going back in time now, but I believe he was, you know, pursuing his master's degree, or he was doing grad work when he was volunteering to help me out a little bit with the indoor team.
Right.
And, you know, we talked a little bit about, you know, maybe him helping out more at the high school, but he's like, you know, I kind of got this running club thing that's going on, and I knew we needed that. You know, being a distance runner with more of a distance background, like kids need, you know, they need that introduction to running at a younger level, because I am of the belief that it takes about 3 or 4 years to develop a really high quality distance runner. Like before the running club, we had a kid a couple years ago. His name was Jonathan Dean. He came out as a freshman, and John was like a very nice kid, but you know, he came out. I think the first time he ran a mile, it was like a 7-something mile, and he really didn't have any running background. He worked for 4 years, ended up running in the 420s, made state opens.
Wow.
You know, but it was that it's tough for a kid in any sport to be like, it's not going to happen this year. It's not going to happen next year. It's not going to happen the year after. But maybe the 4th year you got a shot. Yeah. Right. So, you know, even if kids are getting a couple, you know, runs in a week in the middle school, competing in some road races, they've gotten some exposure to it. They have a mileage base, and they can come up to the high school level and, you know, be more productive earlier on in their careers, especially on the boys' side, because the physical differences between boys and girls, it's crazy. So, I mean, we've seen it. Like Steven Stanley is like one of our better distance runners now, and he ran in the middle school. So he took his lumps his freshman year, like just about every freshman boy does. But last year he showed huge improvements, and now this year he's borderline dominant. If it wasn't for another guy on our team that was beating him every time, he'd be probably one of the best distance runners in the league, and you know, he's one of the better ones in the class. So
and he loves it. You can tell when he runs, it's so effortless.
Right? Yeah, it is fun.
It's just effortless. It's fun to watch.
You know, you talked about a runner that just happens to be a little better. You want to talk about that runner because you have a kid on your team who is really, you know, making an impact and putting his stamp as probably one of the best runners in the state.
Yeah, Ken Little is like one of those kids that you don't get to coach very often as far as from a talent perspective. I mean, he came out as a freshman, and I watched him run, and I was like, oh, man, like, you can't teach that. Right. And he was, his freshman year, he was just kind of fooling around with it. Like, he was running the 400, and he wasn't taking it that
He
serious.
was really into basketball when he came to high
Yeah,
school, correct?
and then he came up last year, and we had a really competitive group last year. We were pushing for, our boys were third in Class S in outdoor last year.
Right.
So we kind of had a push for, hey, let's try and, we thought we were good enough to win the class. We came up short, but he kind of bought into that. And first time I saw him run, I thought he's probably an 800 runner. He's probably a half miler. But that's a lot of hard work, and it's grueling, and it stinks, and it's a race that really hurts in a special kind of way. It really is not fun. Mm-hmm. But I started putting him in our relays, and he kept getting faster. And one day we just put him in the open 800, and we started to see his potential. And I started putting a bug in his ear about, you could be really, really good at this. Put some effort into it. And as a sophomore, he finished, I want to say he finished 4th in the class or 5th in the class in the 800, and made the state opens and ran a 2:01, which is a ridiculously fast time for a kid with no distance base, no nothing. So at the end of the season, I say, hey, listen, if you're not doing anything in the fall, Ken, you might want to consider running cross country. And he's like, oh, that's 3 miles.
That's
I don't know.
a lot of running, coach.
Yeah, I don't really know, but I assigned him, gave him a training schedule for the summer, and he pretty much stuck with it. He conditioned and got himself in shape, and it was very minimal. Many of the girls, the experienced girls in our team, were actually running as many miles as he was.
Right.
And he showed up for cross country. He just dominated. He dominated our league.
It's fun to watch.
He just showed up, and the first race was a home course. We'd never run on our home course before, because of it just hadn't worked out, and he won the race but took a wrong turn and ended up losing. We had to DQ him, and after that, he won every race, won the MVL, all state Class S, 36 the state opens. So he's kind of progressed from there into a really dominant runner. He's learning a lot though too this year. He did. Made state opens in indoor track in 1,000, and he wanted to win, of course, because he knows he's that good. But it's been a learning year for him. So I think his best year is going. Next year is going to be phenomenal. And this year I think he's going to make a lot of noise. He's already run. He ran a 157 800 this past weekend at the O'Grady Relays. And he anchored our relay, which made nationals. So that was huge, and he's got a goal of running 155 or faster this year.
And if I'm not mistaken, he broke a long time record at Derby, and then he broke his own record 3 days later. Correct?
Yeah, he's gonna. I think he's gonna break that record about 10 more times.
Wow, that's impressive.
Because we don't go out and run that hard every time he runs that race, but it's gonna happen. He has a lot. We're running. In a meet in Danbury, it's kind of a select meet called the Dream Invitational, where Danbury High School invites, or they invite runners that are elite level in the state and region to come run. It's one heat at night under the lights, and he's going to be running in that, and he's wanting to run a pretty fast time that night. So at 155 would be nice. So
pretty impressive. Let's talk about. Tell us some of the other runners who, in probably the last 3 years you've had that have really, stepped up for you. Some of the seniors on the team this year, boys and girls, that really stand out.
There's too many.
There's a lot of them.
It's not just runners too. We have so many. Rowers. We have so many talented kids. Right now,
talk a little bit about Brian.
Yeah, right now on our team. Brian Jalowick is a junior. I know we talked about Brian, I think, a little
off
bit.
Air.
Off air. But Brian right now has the number 1 mark in Class S for shot and discus, and number 2 in javelin. And he doesn't throw jab that much. It's kind of a hobby more than a job.
Second.
Tristan Przinski's really excellent shot putter and javelin thrower. Alex Perez is a senior who's right now 2nd in Class S in triple jump. Isaiah Walker is another kid, 2nd in Class S in the high jump. And then we have, really like I don't call them the founding fathers because they weren't here when I first started, but Elijah Ellis, Khalil Ibrahim,
Yeah.
Josh Vega, Tracy Galashaw, like those guys are like, they're like the four horsemen. They've been there pretty much since their freshman year.
Right.
Josh Vega is now a standing hurdler, does everything, 400, 200. Khalil and Elijah are sprinters, so they kind of they hold our relays together, and they're leaders. They're great leaders.
Right.
Tracy's a really good 400 and 800 guy. I'm missing kids. There's so much more.
Right.
On the girls' side, Kylie's amazing, and we're actually in a great class too.
And Kylie's going to go on the Central in the fall, which is great.
Yeah, it's awesome. Nicole Rizzo is out right now, injured, but Nicole's an amazing runner in her own right. Rachel Fleischer is
Right.
Top. I think she's second in the class in the 4 and triple jump right now, number 2 in
Right.
the whole state of Connecticut in triple jump. So and then Sabrina Hannick, who won MVLs in cross country. She made freshman nationals for the 2 mile. And then Cassie Badalino and Annalie, whose last name is too long to say. They're freshmen that are just kind of coming up. And there's other kids,
Right.
There's so many others. So it's fun to have so many kids with so much potential out there.
What's amazing, Coach, is, in a sport like that, you might maybe get 2 or 3 that really stand out, and then the other ones, they do good. But for every position that you seem to have, with the weightmen,
Right.
the sprinters, the distance, it seems like all these kids are right at the top, 1, 2, and 3. And that's amazing to think that, these kids could be this good. For you as a coach, you just got to love going to practice every day and watching these kids develop.
Well, it's interesting because it's like it's very hard for some of the kids. The distance runners are a different breed. Like I explain ad nauseum like how I train the distance runners. Half the time they don't really want to hear it because I'm talking about stuff that they don't really care about.
They just wanna run.
They're just like, Coach, tell me what to run. But I'm like, but you need to understand what we're doing. But with everybody else, because like we don't just want to be good in one spot. To be as good as we want to be, we have to be kind of good everywhere. So I go with this philosophy of do one thing better than anyone else can do it. And then once you've mastered that, then you move on to the next part of your skill. So like with throwers, it can be very frustrating for the kids sometimes where I'm like, you're working on this drill and that's all you're doing. And you're going to do that for 2 weeks. And they don't see it all the time. But my thing is, if you do one thing excellent, then you never have to go back and fix it. And I've kind of gone through like a building block approach with the throws and the jumps,
Right.
and the field, not the field, and the hurdles in a sense too. So that's how we do it. And then once they've done one small thing excellent, then we move on to another thing. And it brings focus, brings clarity, but it also, the best part about it is it makes them an expert at one thing that they can teach another kid that's younger who's just coming up. And so the freshman or sophomore throwers can be taught by the junior, senior throwers the one thing that they learned really well when they were younger. And then they can be like mentors. So
Right.
that's the only way we can do it in this environment, really.
And it's fun. I have the luxury of sometimes stopping in and watching practice, and it's true. Coach will tell them one thing, but then the rest of the kids will be talking and helping each other out, and that's a really cool thing to watch.
No.
Right. Coach, we talked when the season began, the cross-country season, and those girls had come off a magical year in 2015.
Right.
Fell a little short in states, but they had that great MVL run.
Mm-hmm.
But I know the goal was to win the state title, and they were able to do it. They were able to reach that goal. What was that like for you as a coach? You worked with these girls, you worked with these boys as well. To see these kids win a state title, what was that like for you?
That was pretty cool. I was pumped for it.
Do you have the ring on, or
No, it's at home. I was wearing it for a while,
right?
As like more motivation for the boys, and just we do these weird things sometimes where like the girls from the team like will touch rings and like it's like magic powers. But it's gonna stay home for a little bit. I'm gonna take it out when we need it.
Right.
You know, I want to say I wore it at MBLs for indoor.
Right. It's gotta be. You
I was
gotta
like,
be so proud though. I mean,
yeah, it was really cool. It's different though. Like the younger girls that have just come up. I felt
You're
like
having a phenomenal freshman class.
yeah, and listen, that's that piece with the running club has been huge. I mean, I would have had to have developed those girls for 4 years, and it would have been a lot more difficult. So that's why the running club, especially in terms of distance running and cross country, is so big.
right.
The development though of some of those other girls, like specifically Kylie and Nicole and Rachel, who were part of that as well. It's gratifying because, you know, Rachel and Kylie and Nicole in particular, you know, we were runners-up 2 years in a row. And the first year it was really cool. We're like, oh, we're runners-up. Like, we kind of didn't expect it.
Right.
And then the second year, like, we wanted to win.
That's cool.
Right? We wanted to win, and we had a decent shot. It just didn't go our way. I mean, we ran against a team that was just, they were phenomenal.
Right.
Immaculate. And, you know, but we knew this year was we had a really good shot, and it worked out. So it was awesome. It was fun. But then, like, a week or so after it was over, I was just kind of like, all right, next. It's like
indoor time.
Well, it wasn't just that. Like, the mentality that I think the kids feed off of is it's like the hope of being so good at something that, like, few people can attain to be at that level.
Right.
So, you know, while I would love us to go out and win a Class S championship every year, like, one of the first things I said to the girls after we won was, this is great, and I hope we can do this every year, but let's start moving our eyes towards something bigger, because do you just want to be the best in the class, or do you want to be the best in the state? And
Right.
Their response to that was, you know, I don't think they understand. The freshmen didn't understand.
Right.
The whole thing to the freshmen was just kind of like, what's MVLs? What does Class S mean?
It was like a blur.
I don't get it. Where the upperclassmen, like,
very happy blur.
They'd seen it, they knew it.
Right.
So it's still kind of, it's going to take a little time to figure out exactly how they're going to respond, trying to move towards, like, the next step or level of success. But I'm hoping it's going to be a good response.
Right. So. And just by talking to you, you've got all these goals with these kids, and it's great. That tells me that you're not going anywhere. You're here to stay with this program, and you know, you're going to be here for a long time.
I'd like to be, you know,
right.
And it's fun. It's fun to think about the possibilities with a track, you know, what we could do with one.
Right.
That in its own.
It's scary.
I'm just gonna have to I'm gonna have to figure out another motivational tactic, because that's been one of the things that, I mean, listen, our kids love competing with that chip on their shoulder. They have an edge,
right.
You know. And other coaches have told me, your kids are so tough, and I'm thinking, yeah, they're pretty tough. They really are really tough,
right.
Because they want it. They go in really wanting to do it.
They seem like a close-knit group, too. I mean, they
Yeah,
really do.
You know,
you see them in the hallway at the school when you guys are doing the indoor, and they're all, like, socializing, goofing around with each other.
Right.
So they have fun together as well.
Yeah, they do. I mean, they're like any other group. There's ups and downs. I'm not a yeller,
right,
at all. I don't like to yell. I do sometimes. Right, but I don't like to, and there's a lot of respect, I think, on the team, in terms of everyone kind of knows where we want to go. The one thing that's awesome is they just sacrifice all the time. Like,
right.
They're always sacrificing all the time,
and it is a commitment. It really is.
It is, and especially on the track side for the kids. I mean, we are a small school. We don't have a big team. Like, we have, you know. I think just at 30 boys now. You know, there's some attrition always during the season where, you know, kids drop off or grades or whatever it is. But we have, like, you know, probably right at 30 kids right now. And that's not a big team for the boys. So kids have to make a lot of sacrifices, especially our distance runners for the boys. I mean, they go out and they run. They run a lot.
And they run in multiple events.
Too. Yeah, I mean, Kenny and Steven and Tracy, sometimes they have to run the 4x8, the 1600, the 800, the 32, and not just run them, they have to win them. Or we have to get 1, 2, 3. And that's hard because some other teams will go into the meet like, I want to beat Ken, or I want to try and beat Steven.
Right.
And their focus is one race on them, and they're on their third race.
Right.
But they seem to handle it pretty well, so it's kind of fun.
And it's things like that that's awesome, though, when you're saying there's other teams trying to beat your kids. That just goes to show that they've gone from being the underdog program to being the top program, and that really has to say a lot.
I mean, I wouldn't say we're the top program in the league, but we're definitely a really good one. I think Woodland has been very good for a long time, and Naugatuck, I mean, I ran for Naughty. Naughty has been very good for a long time, and Seymour's excellent. But we're definitely, no one takes us lightly. And that was like, the fuel to my fire was my 1 year in the SEC, where we were pretty much treated kind of like a joke. And because we were that bad. And I kind of didn't, I mean, I was brand new, and I didn't know it was, I mean, I thought I knew what was going on, but I didn't know what was going on. And I hated that feeling, like driving home, like, Coach, how'd we do? Not that good, guys. Not that good. You try and find a positive, and but so it's fun. It's been fun. It's a long ride.
So for a guy that coaches year round like this, do you yourself have time to be able to get a run in yourself?
I used to get runs in all the time. It's been more difficult over the past year or so.
Right.
I mean, I've qualified for Boston Marathon 4 times. I'm a pretty good marathon runner.
Wow.
And any training I ever put our distance runners through, I've tried it myself, because I feel like it's important to really know what you're doing in terms of training with an athlete. And I think the best way to understand it isn't reading about it in a book. It's actually going out there doing it. But yeah, I'm hoping that this next year, my goal has been to go under 3 hours in a marathon. I've been close 3 hours, 3 minutes, but I haven't broken under 3 hours yet. I'm hoping that happens this year. But yeah, usually, when I'm in training about 6 days a week.
Wow. So you're coaching, you're training, so
trying to.
Basically, you don't sleep, do you? No.
Well, it's 11:30, and I'm Main Street in Ansonia, so
right.
Lots of $1.05 iced coffees. That's what I'm getting. So.
Nick, one of the things I talked to Rob Hyder tonight about was this booster club that you guys have started, and one of the things that he made a good point about is it kind of takes the load off the coaching staff because they have so many things they have to do. So having these people behind the scenes running these booster clubs trying to raise money has been, really beneficial to the coaching staff. So talk about the booster club and how great that's going.
I will. I just remembered something. Ashley Schlemmer. She's very important.
Yes.
Okay. I didn't say her name.
Ashley's
been
the hurdler.
She's a captain. She's been huge. Ashley, you're the best. If you're listening, which I doubt you are, but if you are, if you're at home, you're the best. The Booster Club has been something that I think came at the right time for us in terms of, what we need because, we have a lot of, with the goals that we've kind of set where we want the kids to compete at high levels, and that costs money, equipment, different events that may not necessarily be school sponsored, but also just raising awareness for what the group is doing. Like really an example, during cross country, I don't like to ask for help because maybe I'm a control freak or maybe I just like things done my way, but the first couple of years, my wife and I did every pasta dinner that we did for our kids. Like cross country, we have one every week. Then we do them during indoor track, and then we do them during outdoor track. And last year or this past year during cross country, we got we had a meeting with the parents before the season started. We had like a kind of a get together, like a party, and I passed the clipboard around and said, all right, who's signing up for pasta dinners this year? Because I just can't do this. My kids are I have 2 little kids. They run all over the place, and my wife's like, I'm cooking pasta again. So the parents stepped up, and I felt bad asking, and they were like, you need to ask because that's what we're here for. And so that was a help, and now the Booster Club, is there to help us with all those types of things. Like we had a pasta dinner the other before the Woodland meet where 7 parents came out, they cooked everything, they set it up. And they're like, Coach, you don't do anything because you have to coach, and that's that's huge because I can't put all those hats on.
Right.
So it's huge. They've been a godsend. So, but we want people to also be aware of what we're doing, and we want to promote more opportunities for our kids, not just at the high school, because this is, and it's unfortunate. I feel like we're getting a lot more recognition for what we're doing, but success oftentimes starts at a much younger level or at a younger age. And with the elementary school running club with Miss Ames and with Mr. Gazzo and the middle school team and program, we all need support.
Right.
So Booster Club is going to, I think, help give us that support that we need.
Right.
So it's exciting.
Anything you want to ask them? Or?
Yeah, we talked a little bit with the Hiders as well about the current fundraiser.
Yeah.
Your tickets are still available, so if anybody wants one, they can reach out to any member of the track team.
Yeah, they were everybody involved in this calendar fundraiser has been huge. It's a great idea. You just look at it and it's like, oh, one ticket, I could win 31 times, $10.
Yeah.
Right. But the thing that's really cool is that the Booster Club members went out and they were able to get those donations from people, and we pretty much didn't pay for anything that's on that ticket. So it's really a pure revenue stream, and that's awesome. Yeah. And it's a cool thing. I mean, you could sell tickets 2 weeks. Into it, and people will still be like, oh, well, there's a TV available last week, so I'll buy this ticket for $10 because why not? So if you want tickets, ask a track club member, cross country team member, or myself or any of the parents. We got tickets.
I can get tickets too, so let me know.
Nice.
Well, I think what you're doing is really great. I mean, this program is unbelievable. It's so nice to see. I was a track runner, so I really like seeing this track program do well. And I think you've told your boys when the last time Derby won a state title in track, and I know it was the year I was born, 1976. So you're talking 41 years ago. So this is really a goal for these boys to shoot for, and I'm sure they're going to do everything they can to try to make it happen. The same thing with the girls, and I mean that's a reflection on you, Coach Gazzo, and just everyone involved. And I really do applaud you for the job you're doing.
Well, I appreciate it. I hope we can get it done. I just. The scary thing is what happens if we do get it done. It's like, man, I mean, it's great.
It doesn't get old, though, does it?
It does. I don't think it will get old.
Right.
So,
I think it would be. I think we'd be a little remiss if we don't mention Dina and Lucia and how they're able to help you out. Keep everything going every day.
My wife Dina is the silent MVP, because if it wasn't for her being so patient with me doing all this stuff, and her help, as she serves as assistant coach during the spring season, and Lucia Hannick is a volunteer assistant, and they're all over the place. They're like, just tell us what we need to do to help. Whether it's have a stopwatch, hold a clipboard, time kids. My wife does a lot of yoga with the kids, monitor the weight room. Those are things that if they weren't there doing that, then I couldn't be running around coaching all the skill areas.
Right.
Which is kind of the way, I like the setup. And without them getting on buses with the team, talking things through with kids, I don't know if we wouldn't be able to do it. So they've been huge.
I mean, it definitely seems like a great thing. I mean, everybody's on board, which is awesome. And again, I think Derby is lucky to have you, and I think you're great for Derby. And it's great to see a guy that came from a town like Naugatuck, big school, comes to a little school and, does what you're doing right now. I think it's great. And thank you again for coming on tonight.
No problem. So you're right. That was quick. I'm just getting warmed up.
Listen, I'll throw something else out there if you want.
No.
And I think we'll turn it back over to Eugene, correct?
Sure. It's only like hour number 17.
All right.
But, hey, thanks for coming here at 11 o'clock at night.
It's cool.
That was nice of you. And thanks to you guys for... Actually, what I just did now is I ate dinner. So I appreciate you guys taking over the webcast for a little bit so I could eat some dinner. So I hope you guys enjoyed that live edition of Valley Sports Rewind.